Hello, hello. Good afternoon. Welcome to the final round of the 5G Hub Innovation Challenge. This year, the Sustainability Edition. We have 6 contestants, and they are very, very eager to show you their ideas for you today. Oh, and I just forgot my clicker, sorry. And that's the very core of our program for today. So, Aircision, City Legends, Connect2, Integer, Skybase, and TechBinder are on a quest to impress the jury and wow the audience this afternoon. Right after that, right after the last pitch, our jury is going to move to a separate room because they have a very important decision to make. And while they do that, that's the moment when the audience is also going to make a decision. You will be invited to vote for your favorite team. And while the jury deliberates, we'll have a keynote by Ben Schwartz from Hello Energy. And finally, of course, we will know who the winners are. But before we get this party really started with the pitches, I wonder how many of you know what the 5G Hub is and what we stand for. So, once upon a time, Ericsson, VodafoneZiggo, High Tech Campus, and Brainport got together and established a partnership to accelerate new technologies. And together, they founded the 5G Hub. But please don't worry, I'm not going to tell you a very long story. We have a short video that explains it all. Check it out.
The 5G Hub, an accelerator where talent and sustainable business results come together, and a societal impact is born. Located at the crossroad of inventing, developing, and integrating, the Brainport region in Eindhoven. From new technologies to an undisrupted flow. From revolutionized entertainment distribution to a complete immersive experience. From innovative health to a state of reassurance. From eliminating the need to use any chemical pesticides to a better world for us and the generations to come. Let's meet each other. The 5G Hub. The future starts now.
Thank you. And now it's time for the main characters in this story to take over the stage. So we will start with a startup based in Eindhoven, which focuses on developing free space optic systems as a wireless alternative for backhaul communication. Please welcome Aircision.
Yep. Hey. Wow, nice to be here again. Let me check the mic. Okay. So, we all know connectivity enables prosperity. And I think and there are pretty awesome startups here today, companies that are betting on connectivity to improve people's lives. I'm pretty sure we'll hear awesome pitches. But there is one good thing, is that for good connectivity, we need good infrastructure. And if you look at the current state of infrastructure, there are still, in 2022, 40% of households in the world that do not have access to internet at all. But we tend to think that this is a problem of the underdeveloped economies. But if you look at the maps of the United States and Germany, two of the most powerful and developed countries in the world, we still see the broadband needs are not being met. The colors are a bit weird, but in the United States, you can see that most of the country is still not meeting the broadband needs. Why is this happening? So fiber optics has been around for more than 30 years. It just takes too much time, too much money to roll out, to install, to dig in the ground. It also requires a huge workforce to actually develop it. The alternative is to use wireless technologies. They are easily installed. They can be deployed very quickly. And the current technology being used, radio frequency, has a big trade-off between the bandwidth and the range that it can do. You can have very long distances at very low bit rates, or the other way around. For example, the 5G antennas. Very high bandwidth, very short range. The industry is looking into alternatives, and free space photonics, or as Leticia mentioned, free space optics, which is commonly known, is a wireless technology that uses light propagation through the air to transmit data at very high speed over very long distances. This is why it's being used in space for connecting satellites, so huge distances. We were inspired by this, and Aircision developed a system, terrestrial system, that uses free space photonics to connect 2 points. Our system can be deployed in less than 6 hours, so no licenses required, just less than 6 hours. It's already covering 5 kilometers range, and it's transmitting at 10 gigabit per second. I would say even more importantly, when compared to similar wireless technologies, such as radio frequency, it is using 50% less energy consumption. This is per box, per link. So imagine the exponential energy savings on the overall network. Our system is divided in 2 parts. We have what we call the optical heads, which are installed on top of the towers or the buildings, and then we have the baseband unit in the bottom. The optical heads are extremely precise. Imagine transmitting a laser from point A to point B over 5 kilometers, and in point B we have a receiver which is the size of a coin. It's impressive, huh? It's not only about hitting the receiver, it's about keeping the laser aligned all the time so that we can provide the highest link availability possible. The baseband unit in the bottom is responsible for the speed. It's responsible for transmitting at 10 gigabit per second or a terabit per second, which is where we want to go. We have IP on this, so both on the optical head, so on this very precise alignment system, as well as in the fast deployment, as we have a fast link acquisition system that connect when it's installed in less than 1 hour, the link is up. And we are also partnering with integrated photonics companies, such as Effect Photonics, to actually reach higher and higher bit rates. So go to 100 gigabits per second and beyond. This is not only useful for fixed and mobile networks, but we are also exploring use cases for enterprises. So here it's key, the security element, so enterprises can keep all their information in their own private network, but also for defense and temporary connectivity solutions, because our system can be really fast deployed. This is a real case. We are actually working with a company in a country in Africa. I cannot reveal the name, but the main point is you can see that this is a city with over 3 million people, and that orange dot over there is the nearest fiber access point. So the fiber optic cable that comes from the capital to the city. And what they want to do is to use our free space photonic solution to connect a tower on top of a hill. This hill is next to the city. And from there, they provide fixed wireless access to the whole city. We are working today with the 2 leading telecom operators in Germany for similar use cases. And next year, we'll be rolling out commercial pilots and market launch. The market is huge. Just this weekend, the G7, so some of the biggest countries in the world gathered, and they said they are going to invest $600 billion in infrastructure, with an emphasis on digital infrastructure connectivity. And let me tell you, we have a fantastic team covering all areas of business, experience in entrepreneurship, finance, technology, high-tech systems, but also diverse. And out of 12 people, we have about 10 nationalities. So a very international team. We are also surrounded by a very strong advisory board, people who used to be C-level executives at the biggest telecom operators in Europe, Qualcomm, Deutsche Telekom, Nokia, Ericsson, and so on. And we are currently raising 3.5 million so that we can industrialize the product you just saw before and conduct market launch next year. Why are we here? Because today we are discussing a project to connect the TUI campus to the high-tech campus. This is about 5-kilometer range. And we involved already a lot of parties, the TUI, the high-tech campus management, and a few other parties here in the region. And we'd like the support of the 5G hub so that we could have temporary, but I would say even a permanent demonstration site for all our clients, so that our clients can come to Eindhoven and see our link working and show the use case. We are doing this because we believe that by improving infrastructure, by providing better telecom infrastructure, we can also improve access to education and information all over the world. We are Ercision, and we are empowering connectivity. Thank you.
Fantastic job. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Obrigado.
Yeah. See? Então eu gostaria de saber, sorry, and I started speaking Portuguese.
I understand.
That was amazing. It would be so great to host an event in Portuguese. Oh
Next
my
time.
God. Next time, let's do it. I'd like to know if the jury has any questions for Ercision, and you guys will need a microphone for that, of course. You can ask in Portuguese if you want. Anybody?
I can answer in Portuguese or Spanish or.
I'll try to keep it with English. It's better. I have two questions, but I don't know if I'm allowed. The first one is, can you explain a bit more the 5G link in this one? And the second one is, who are your clients?
Yep.
Who's paying for it?
Yep. Okay, so the first part, 5G. As I mentioned, 5G antennas have quite a short range. So that's about maximum 500 meters if it's on line of sight. That means that they can only cover array 500 meters around the antenna. So if we want to provide very high connectivity and speed to mobile devices on a certain location, we need to provide a very high speed link to that location. So let's say you want to have 5G service and antenna in an area next to the high-tech campus. I know the high-tech campus has fiber optics. But let's say you want to expand. Instead of having only in the 5G hub, if you want 5G on the other side of the lake, we could provide a link between that site, the fiber access point, to the other side of the lake, and then connect it to a 5G antenna where people would have then access to 5G service. Yep. That's the first question. The second one, our clients are telecom operators. So usually they are the challengers, how we call them. So almost every country in the world, you have an incumbent, traditionally a company that was supported by the state, investment, and they have traditionally most of the infrastructure. Over the last 10, 15 years, the markets have started to liberalize in Europe, but also other countries in the world. So new players started to come into these markets. And they need to have infrastructure so that they can provide their services to the end customers. They need to do it fast, they need to do it high speed, and they need to do it in an economic way. That's why our solution is perfect. Not by itself, that's something we always emphasize. Free space photonics is not the only solution, but it's part, together with fiber, together with radio, it's part of the solution to get higher speeds, coverage over the whole network. Okay.
Anybody else?
Yes. Question one, you said that your solution is 50% more efficient, energy efficient than regular mobile communication. Is that on 4G related and 5G networks?
Yes. So what we did is technology being used to, it's similar to our solution. It's called the E-band.
It's a radio frequency. They use between 60 and 80 gigahertz band, and it can provide 10 gigabit per second over around 2 kilometers, right? 2.5 kilometers. If they want to get longer distances, then they drop the bit rates. So we use that as a comparison. So even if we use E-band, in order to cover 5 kilometers, you need one tower here, you need one tower after 2.5 kilometers, you need one tower 2.5 kilometers, so a total of 4 devices. So if you compare 4 devices with using only 2 from our solution over 5 kilometers, that's already 50% gain. Even if we use the same power consumption. But we use less. That's one of the benefits of using optics. Overall, if we compare a solution of installing and using E-band to cover, let's say, a city with 3.5 million people, then the benefits are exponential.
Maybe the obvious question, you have an optical signal. How sensitive is that to snow, rain, anything that gets in between?
Yeah, that's a great question. That has always been, let's say, the challenge of free space photonics. But now we are in a different point. We are in a point where we want to connect the world at very high speed. And what's crucial and what we hear from the telecom operators themselves is they want to provide most of the time very high bandwidth. And in cases of snow or fog, which block our signal in some cases, so if it's very thick fog, then it blocks, they have alternatives. They have radio frequency at very lower bit rates. So it's always, from a network perspective, by using multiple solutions, fiber, radio, free space photonics, then they can achieve a very, very high link availability, which is for the customers don't even notice what's happening in the back. So, yeah.
Big round of applause for Ercision.
Yeah, thank you.
And our next contestant is an online urban sports and culture platform. Please welcome City Legends.
Yeah, why am I bringing here a skateboard or longboard? Yeah, Letitia already mentioned. We're going to talk about urban sports and culture, such as skateboarding, or actually longboarding, what I'm doing, but calisthenics, street basketball, street soccer, kick scootering, BMX, and all sort of emerging, upcoming urban sports and culture. And we are City Legends, and we are an urban sports community platform where we also create vibrant, sustainable cities and communities for the free. And yeah, when I was younger, I was a skateboarder, and I'm really fanatic about anything about street culture. But now we are about 10 people who are also passionate about urban sports and culture. Our own developers, marketeers, and also experienced senior advisors. And there's also a reason, because there are already 1 billion enthusiasts, actually fans, including 150 million athletes over the whole world, where are 700,000 in the Netherlands. But these athletes, they actually want to have more freedom, and they have limited traditional clubs, limited federation, because they want to have less structure and more freedom. But through that freedom, they also are cities and brands having a really hard time to connect to these communities. And when we'll talk about this market, then we'll talk about a 10 billion market, which is growing quite rapidly, with an annual growth rate 50% per year. And to come back to that, why it's then really growing is, once again, back to that freedom. Because nowadays we have, with social media and with gaming, you can go everywhere wherever you want. You can see any content that you want, and you can chat and game whatever you want where over the whole world. And there are even now that same freedom that you want to have in social media and gaming. Youngsters want to have the same freedom in the offline world. And there are now even coming up new urban sports such as slacklining, calisthenics, or even urban hockey and cricket. And that's why also cities and brands and even the Olympics are really coming into this market. But yeah, cities, they're having a really hard time to even reach this group, because there are almost no clubs, no federations. And therefore they don't have any insights or any data, and so that they can't shape policies and allocate funds. Where our community is really questioning self, okay, where are all the cool spots, where are the best events, competitions, where is actually all the fun? And brands, they can reach them by running annoying ads, but they can't create a deeper relationship with this community. And therefore we got a solution, an urban sports community platform where you can explore the world with spots, events, other peers, and can interact with these objects. But while also you can challenge others and challenge yourself at 1v1 battles, tournaments, and a lot of gamification techniques. Actually a sort of Strava for urban, which is also connected to a city dashboard where we get a really valuable data-driven insights where we can shape those policies and make better decisions. And also it's suitable for sponsorships. We're already working with brands within in-app campaigns, but also to cross other social media platforms, of course, so Snapchat, Instagram, and TikTok. And this is actually just the first phase, and we actually want to build towards actually the urban esports. And that first phase we're now in, where users can perform in those battles, can explore the world and create cool content. And we are now building a coin system where you can have coins, where you can buy digital objects, such as AR objects for your avatar, or unlock NFTs and unlock exclusive content. But also when the platform gets more mature and the user base grows, those user events also become pros. Those pros will perform in tournaments, which all can be broadcasted, maybe on Vodafone Ziggo. So it's not per se the user who is also only important, but also the whole fan base around it, and the brands and cities interacting with these communities. How are we actually making money at this moment? That is actually by selling a city dashboard with a subscription model, annual subscription model, to already 25 cities in Europe, where they can get access to the city dashboard with insights and education materials. But also now we're working with a coin system for a community, which you also see in a lot of gaming apps. And also we're working with sponsorships, which will even grow over time. But yeah, why 5G? That's actually, to summarize it, to make a high-end version even of Pokemon Go for urban. And we already have a small beta version with an AR map, with AR spots and AR avatars. And we want to extend these options. And we also want to activate youth, inactive youth, but also get youth more active. But also to guide them to the right, proper spots. For course, one example here in Eindhoven, we have the Stadhuisplein in front of the City Hall. There are a lot of skateboarders and BMXers. But the mayor and also other people from the government, they actually want that they go to Area 51, the skate park of Eindhoven, where they just invested 30 million into it. And we actually want to guide them to these spots and rewarding be doing so. So rewarding them with AR objects for the avatar, where you can perform with AR games, or where you can scan a QR code or perform a certain challenge where you can get a unique filter also in AR. And there we also need 5G access for it, with a way bigger bandwidth than with 4G. And while we are doing these activations, we are getting a lot of interesting data about demographics, public space, the engagement, activation effects, and urban planning. All sorts of topics what those cities and policymakers and really need to make those policies and decision making, which are lacking now. Few use cases where our community already is showing, because the app is also since a few weeks it's live. For example, lights are lacking, or there's a broken equipment, so there's a safety concern. And we want to know to also integrate those. If you go to a certain spot, get that challenge, you get AR filter, or you get double points for it. Which we're also really seeing is that some spots are becoming really are overcrowded, or are some areas where really is nothing to do over there. So we have to do something in these areas. We have to interact with it. Yeah, so actually why City Legends? And that's where we'll work on the SDGs, on health and well-being, to activate youth and to stimulate you with high-end features in real time, and gather these insights. And with these bottom-up insights, we can also make the voices heard about the community, which are now unheard, and are now is miscommunication. But based on these insights and those voices, we can build citizen-driven, sustainable cities, the cities actually of tomorrow, based on youthful input. And at the same time that we do those, getting those insights, we also want to educate policymakers in the way of urban sports and culture and how they can work with these communities and get more familiar with it. So yeah, as City Legends, we want to make the world even a little bit more legendary. And if you have any questions, the panel, I'm really curious about that. That was it.
Fantastic. Very, very well done. Jury, any questions for City Legends?
Yeah, a lot of things. So first, now we are making, at this moment, 100% of the revenue are coming from the government or from municipalities. So we're now working with 25 cities across Europe. Now this year, we're really spreading our wings. So they subscribe to the city dashboard where they pay, on average, 10,000 till 100,000 per year for 1 year subscription. And
already have a municipality that pays 100,000 a year.
Yeah, we already have more, several 100,000s in revenue per year. And so now we are building the coin system, and therefore we will need a lot of users to also make that definitely work. And how more users, how more interesting for the brands.
How big is the user group?
At this moment, we're now going towards 10,000, and at the end of the year, we want to go to 50,000, and 1 year actually want to achieve 1 million installs. And then we really want to have to work on the retention rates, because that is the most important. The users were really coming back.
Nice.
What's your biggest challenge in the next year?
Biggest challenge is, I think there are 3 main challenges. Is hiring the best talent, because the team makes eventually the product and the marketing. Getting the funding, additional funding, so we are now working also with an additional second funding round. So the funding needs also come in time. And then after that is actually a marketing game, B2C marketing game, to grow actually as fast as possible. At this moment there is also no competition. But we see some things popping up, but we really want to be in front of them. Actually, really want to be the first mover. Yeah.
Thanks.
Any other questions from the jury?
If you win, what are you going to do with the 5G hub support?
With the 5G support? Good question. No, definitely work on testing with the AR tools, but because we have now already that AR beta version, and we really saw with the 4G that it was a little bit already lagging, and that it was the customer experience of the feature was not there yet. So it was working really raw. So together with, I think, the technicians of the 5G hub, that we really want to improve and test the AR features, and keep improving till we really get a high-level customer experience.
Big round of applause for City Legends.
Yeah.
Okay, so our next contestant is, Up next, we have a virtual XR collaboration platform for a lifelike social experience. Please welcome Connect2.
We're going to do things totally different this time. So bear with me. My name is Bart. I'm product owner at Connect2, and I would love you to take you on this journey I'm going to show you right here. Looks like a presentation, but looks might be deceiving. So before I tell you what we do, I want to explain to you and sketch to you how the future will look. And I can do that by showing you these devices. So we have a VR headset from Meta and a HoloLens from Microsoft. And of course, you all guys heard of the term metaverse. But it's not about devices. And it's looking at it and seeing a communication platform, just like the internet, before it became popular. It's all about the data. The future for these devices, as you can see already, is wireless. But currently, they don't have any SIM or any connectivity on board. It all uses Wi-Fi. But just like mobile phones, they're going to be connected. And of course, with these devices, getting more and more people, and of course, not in this form factor, but more sleeker designs at some point, just like mobile phones, you want to have data connections that are really low latency and have a lot of bandwidth. Because you can imagine all these devices, they're going to be immersive. And latency is killing for an immersive experience. Also, it's about connecting people and technology. So a lot of times when people use these applications or these headsets or even devices, it looks like a single person experience. One person on the headset doing one thing at a time. We believe we can connect these things. And not just people, but also their technology. So imagine companies already creating a lot of data, technology, in forms of 3D engineering models, but also like digital simulations of an actual machine. But there's too much hassle to get that data and information inside these devices. There's applications out there like Unity or Unreal, but you'll need actual developers, which are really hard to come by, and they're not the focus of your company. Your company is trying to do something different. For example, if we look to the architecture, construction, and engineering industry, it's about creating buildings for a better life. And we know there's a lot of buildings are being built right now, worldwide. So how do we do this? Well, at Connect 2, we want to make it accessible. Because currently, if you want to make something for these devices, you have to hire a developer, have to create content, have to make something from scratch. But we want it to be more tangible. So let's say you look at it like PowerPoint. You can do it yourself. But instead of adding a photo or bullets, you're going to use your company's engineering model and maybe instructions from your instructor who can just do it because it's immersive. You can just play on record, explain what's happening, and you can just sync it. So we have this PowerPoint in which you can easily create your own content with your own existing data. In such a way, you can also maintain sovereignty of the data. It's your data, it's your project, it's your technology. So let's say I want to demonstrate some of these features for the architecture, engineering, construction industry. How would that look like? Well, that's a bit hard to explain on a screen like this, so maybe it's even better, just like it says there, work together without boundaries, to bring some of my colleagues inside of this presentation to just give a small glimpse. So if the lights are going out now, I'm going to show you the journey of some of our customers, big and small, by showing with my colleague Patrick and Stefan. Hi guys, maybe you guys can say hello for the audience.
Hey Bart, good to be here. Hey.
Great. How some of our customers in this industry, big and small, because we have some clients that are really big in Holland, but also small clients, how they use this technology we created to encompass their own designs. So let's say we want to show you how to build stuff. There's going to be a lot of construction people out there in the future, and we need more buildings to be built, but we need more training. So we have a client that uses our technology to incorporate their drawings in such a way new people can train not only faster, but more sustainable and durable, because you don't need as much material for this training if it would be like physical with actual wood. And in this case, it's really interesting to see even the first responses for people using it. They even like it more in some cases than traditional learnings. But let's say you already built something, but you want to show different showcases. You want to show the actual customer, you want to engage with them. We have a client that makes like tiny houses, but for like this new dimension, because you know, land is getting more and more expensive. So this is like a small tiny house in the water. But of course you want to sell them the full experience, which is not just this boat. Maybe with a flick of a button, you can add like this, you know, full experience. And in this way, with just a click of a button, the person who made this own model can make like this virtual representation of this virtual deck and even celebrate with their existing or new customer on the options they've chosen. So with just a click of a button, they can make things interactive as well. Or even look at the distance on their yet to be built, you know, spot they have to still, you know, attain from their landlord or wherever they were going to place the boat. So they can go up deck and get the full experience of every space. Again, the person who made this wasn't an engineer. He just created this model because he needs that model anyways in its current process. But now with just a small, simple device, he can show them all the options. But of course, this is something that is engineered in such a way it's done. You're going to build 10 of those, and that's okay. But maybe in some cases, there's even things that are yet to be determined on how they should be built. I mean, the architect has certain ideas, construction company has certain ideas, but let's say you want to build a hospital with like hundreds of the same rooms, but eventually in this hospital people will work. And if they only see the design at some point when it's finished and it's not okay, you have to change a lot of things. These are failure costs. And a lot of failure costs are in construction because of bad decision making up front. But in this case, the colleagues can just join in, do a virtual feedback design review session, and for instance, make like annotations in this space by changing this power socket to a different position. And in this way, normally, I don't know if you guys know this, but normally for tens of thousands of euros, they created cardboard prototypes of these spaces, like with cardboard walls and such, and all kinds of stuff, while the actual construction company already has this digital model, which is like on par with the actual thing, even with the products like you see in here. But imagine if your physical space not only has a lot of stuff in it, let's say you're in the industry, you want to work with machines, imagine making those machines interactive by powering them with digital simulations running on the back end. So it's your simulation, not ours. You can power the model with your own technology, with your own data. In such a way you might use it for training or whatever. Lots of things you can think of. But the really cool part is, and that's the dot on the horizon, that's also what you see when you look at the presentations from Meta and Microsoft, is the big metaverse. And it's not about, virtualizing physical things, it's also in the future to create virtual worlds. And that's what Connect2 stands for. We want to create a virtual world, which is not only based on servers in the US, but also within companies in Europe in such a way it can be used and be accessible to anyone. Whether you're a big company or a small company, it's easy to start. That's the end of my presentation. Thank you.
Maybe you can elaborate a bit more on the necessity of 5G, because what I've seen is quite a lot what would happen inside, and then you can use Wi-Fi as well. So why would you need the 5G element in this one?
So we believe in a standalone surface. So probably you wouldn't be, we see a lot of things happening for, let's say, companies that have internal settings for Wi-Fi and such, but they're not optimal for this new immersive technology most of the time. So being able with 5G hub partners to create like a off-site solution with also low latency connections, and also if there's going to be a place where there's a lot of, let's say, people going around, or also maybe a lot of interference of where you are at that space with technology from like 5G, like slicing the data in such a way it can be accessed like optimal for the immersive experience, whether that's a training, remote training, or like a digital twin. That's something that would be really interesting to take into account when looking at 5G and this technology, if that makes sense.
Another question with regard to sustainability. Have you also looked at to what extent your solution solves some of the issues in terms of sustainability, looking for example, towards the SDGs, like the other organizations have been doing?
So currently we did some market validation with the use cases I've just shown. What was your question again?
To what extent does your solution solve a problem in terms of sustainability?
Yeah, so like I mentioned with failure costs, like 10% of the investments when building new buildings, it's because of bad decision making. Because people think they are building something for an end user, but it's not what they wanted, or it's built wrong way because there are a lot of people, a lot of different companies collaborating in big projects. So just making that decision making not only faster, but even better for the end user, while at the same time lowering costs while making those buildings, that's one point. But if you look at other markets, because this is just the architecture, engineering, construction, but if you look to the industry section, we have, for instance, a party who's interested in making like a virtual collaborated digital twin of a machine which is very complicated. They only have one to train new people, and it will take a lot of weeks to train the people to use it. And when people start using it, of course, they need to use it, but if they break it, you have downtime. And again, at some point that will also create a lot of extra costs.
So our next finalist is a system designer and integrator of new sustainable concepts for combined heating, cooling, and electrical installations in residential buildings. Please welcome Integer Technologies.
And also the microphone, please. Yes, thank you very much. Hello. All right, let's see the clicker. Yeah, there we go. All right, so probably it's pretty clear to everyone in this room, but we're sort of at a tipping point in the climate crisis. And still, when it comes to the built environment, we're not really doing nearly enough. You see, the picture of sustainability that I think most people unfortunately still have is, you know, if you've got a house and you want to make it more sustainable, slap some solar panels on that roof, right? Until it looks sustainable, and then, you know, you call it a day. But if you look at like net zero homes with their ventilation heat pumps, and you see their dependence on the electricity grids, they're fully dependent on getting pretty much all their electricity sold to the electricity grid in the summer and buying it all back in the winter. But well, the electricity grid isn't a battery, which means, so the previous picture I just showed you with those coal-fired and gas-fired plants are actually what's powering all these sustainable homes. And this is a pretty big issue. Not just the issue that we need those coal-fired plants, which just last week were turned on full blast. In addition, so this week even, the grid operators from the Netherlands published new maps showing just how congested the grid in the Netherlands already is. With, on the left, you see the congestion for consumption, and on the right, you see it for production. So there's very little capacity on the grid to produce more electricity and pump it back into the grid, or buy it from the grid. The future is going to have to be different. To build more sustainable buildings, we'll have to do something very, very different. It's just that, you know, some people don't quite realize it yet. So I'm Antoine Post, and together with Pau and Bart, we're Integer Technologies. And we are introducing innovative, sustainable installation concepts and database methods for a more sustainable built environment. So we design our installation concept based around 4 principles. Those are sustainable local energy production and use. So the simple answer is, if we can't change when the sun shines, we'll change when we use the electricity that it provides, instead of selling it all back to the grid. And to make that possible, we'll also need a thermal storage. And that's just a consequence of the Dutch weather, really. We have fairly warm summers and fairly cold summers, fairly cold winters and fairly warm summers. So we'll have to, instead of using the grid as a battery, we'll use a thermal storage as a battery, let's say. We also do shared installations per building, because this allows us to use less raw materials and make the installations much more affordable. And finally, the control systems and monitoring allows us to guarantee the performance of the building and remotely see what's up with this installation and how it's performing, and maybe even prevent required maintenance. We put all these concepts together into our first installation product, which is the Integer 32, and it provides heating and cooling and ventilation, electricity, and everything you need on, let's say, your heating and energy demands, from a single, let's say, service core. And the important part is that basically all this is sort of localized energy use. And to make these buildings and our installations more sustainable, we didn't touch on the sort of decrease the comfort, right? So these tiny houses that you do see popping up in some places, I think a lot of people haven't actually lived in a tiny house for very long, because it can get mighty uncomfortable unless you're in the middle of a lake. Then it's really nice. But if you're in the middle of a city in a really tiny apartment, it does get old. And then if there's a heat wave and it gets really hot, it's terribly uncomfortable. Now, last week it was 34 degrees in Helmond. And the indoor temperature for us was a cool 22 degrees, I think. And the most important part is that wasn't a huge energy demand. All that heat that was added to our building during that mini heat wave, we extracted it, stored it in the ground so we can use it again in the winter. So making it more comfortable and more sustainable at the same time. We're also much more independent from volatile energy prices for our residents. So imagine for social housing, energy prices are a big deal. So taking away that volatility and giving them security is very important. And in addition to that, because we're much less independent from the electricity grid, we also have much lower emissions compared to even normal systems with heat pumps. So as I said, it's a prefabricated module. Well, several prefabricated modules that you stack on top of each other and are able to build really quickly on site. But maybe even more important is the monitoring system that comes with it. So by essentially these concepts get quite complicated. To become more sustainable, you need more complicated installations, but they also give us a really nice opportunity. They give us a lot of data and a lot of information about how that system is performing. And with the advanced monitoring capabilities we have and the algorithms we can run to see what's going on with the system, we can even prevent faults from occurring altogether. So gone are the days that an installer has to come on site to figure out, oh boy, what's wrong with this thing, and try replacing all sorts of components and things until it starts working again. Now you can log in remotely, figure out what exactly is wrong. Maybe we can bypass the faulty component for now and get an installer on site with exactly the tools he needs to go fix the problem. And then when he's on site, he can go there, plug in his computer and see exactly what he needs to do to fix the issue as soon as possible. Now, we haven't just dreamt this, we've also built our first prototype, which is the Casa 1.0, which we built in Helmond. It's a demo installation which has 3 apartments, of which 2 are currently inhabited and 1 is a showroom, and where we basically implemented all the ideas I just told you, but in a slightly smaller, compact version. This Casa 1 was purchased by Social Housing Corporation Woonbedrijf as a proof of concept. This is the future of social housing. The roadmap for the next few years, we're going to develop together with building company Herx the Casa 2.0, the next larger version of this same installation. And in the next few years, we want to be, in the next few years, we want to be commissioning between 20 to 100 systems per year based on these installations. And that brings me to my last slide. Thank you very much for your attention, and if you have any questions, I'd love to answer them. Oh yeah, right, to answer the questions.
I can ask the question again around 5G. So how are you going to use the 5G hub for this solution?
So right now, we use Wi-Fi. So we have a Wi-Fi connection in the demo project, and that is an issue because you can't always get Wi-Fi in your technical room. And that's simply because even if there's a fiber connection outside, getting it to have a separate Wi-Fi connection inside the service room is a problem. And so having a wireless solution is sort of the way to go, right? Because you don't want your building to only work after someone has come on site and installed the internet for you. That'd be really inconvenient. So honestly, very honestly, I think most of the things that we need to do, you could probably do it with 4G. But I think more going towards the future, if you see the example I was saying with the installer coming on site and having to fix something. So these installations, truth be told, they're a lot more complicated than the general gas, thing you find in normal houses. And so if something were to happen and it's complicated to fix, maybe you'd want to be able to have a direct connection to maybe a camera there to explain to someone what's going on, or some AR glasses that they can put on, and then you start needing that 5G part. I think it. So the real technical advantage of the system. Yeah, there you go. So it's about the integration of the components, right? So there is a heat pump in here that people have heard of heat pumps before, but it's the way you use them, right? And the real importance is doing all the energy that you need locally. And to be able to do that, you need to be able to tell your system what to do in quite a complicated way. So really quite complicated control systems and algorithms that determine for hundreds of different possible weather conditions and indoor conditions, what is the most optimal thing the system could be doing right now. Because again, right, these installations, there's quite a lot of it, so they're quite expensive. So it's only worth it if you use them in the most optimal way. Getting a heat pump and then having it run in 2 different modes, either cooling or heating, that's not going to work, because that's a waste of money, right? Because this heat pump can do so much more. And the same with all the other parts of the system. So in the end, it's the fine-tuning of that control is where the actual difference comes in.
What are the changeover costs? So currently we have, this concept, I like it for new buildings. You also have a lot of existing buildings that are empty. You want to have people, residents in there. What's the changeover cost in the business case?
So if you compare this to, so the part of our system that is, let's say, the WKO part of I call it traditional system, it would be about 25,000 euros per apartment, depending a bit on how many apartments you connect up, right? So you can optimize that a little bit further.
Thanks.
So, the following proposal is an inspection service provider and platform for critical assets management. Please welcome Skybase.
So, I brought some stuff. Let's see. Okay, hi everyone. My name is Jean-Louis. I'm one of the founders of Skybase. In total, we're with 4 founders. I'm doing the business and the finance part in the company. What is Skybase actually doing? Skybase is combining drones and AI for industrial inspections by doing 2 types of activities. One activity is data collection with drones in the air, on the land, in the water, and with fixed installations. And the other activity is the development of asset inspection platforms for the industry. What problem are we trying to solve, or are we solving? What you see in the industry and also in container terminals, that there are aging assets which have to be inspected. They are heavily used, so inspections are needed and can be done in a very smart, or in a smarter way than it is done today. So over here, industrial installations, how are inspections actually done today? You have several methods. What you see today, that they are working with alpinists, with rope techniques, with aerial platforms, with scaffolding, which is very expensive, with manual inspections. Experts are present on the terrain during an inspection, and in the industry, they're working with PDF reporting, so with static data, not with digital data. So it cannot be used for trend analysis, for example. Over here, we have a movie about the future, or the future, what the need is of the customer and how they want it in the future in a more digital way on a container terminal. So I'm going to show you that and how that works.
Tijdens het preventieve onderhoud van onze techniekers wordt er soms opgemerkt dat op bepaalde delen van de structuur die niet bereikbaar zijn, roestplekken voorkomen. Via deze inspectie kunnen we bekijken of dat die roestplekken effectief alleen maar roestvlekken zijn of dat er een schade is aan de structuur op zich.
En daarnaast biedt het ook heel veel bijkomende digitale data.
Gecombineerd met artificiële intelligentie voor het verwerken van al die data tot bruikbare onderhoudsinzichten,
die dan gebruikt kunnen worden voor het uitvoeren van preventief onderhoud en de planning ervan.
Inspecties met drones en hoogtechnologische camera's bieden zeker een toegevoegde waarde voor onze klanten.
So over here you can see an example of an application of drones and AI. If you look at the 5G and the implementation of the 5G in the process, we can use it in various steps. We have defined an inspection process from defining the scope until digital reporting, and especially in the execution phase and in the data transfer phase, we need 5G. And why do we need 5G over there? As you've seen, inspections are performed with inspectors on the job. They are present on the job, on the crane. In the future, we want to do it with drones. We already do it with drones. Let's say in the first case, the inspector can be in the command vehicle and looking at the inspection images on the terrain, and the images are streamed towards a television or to a goggle. In the more advanced way, we're working with an inspection expert center where the experts are located somewhere in the world. We have a specific expert center, for example, for ship-to-shore cranes based in Antwerp or in Rotterdam. Inspections can be performed on the other side of the world, and with 5G, the inspector, the expert, can be present during that inspection. So we can, let's say, centralize the inspections in a much more interesting way. Secondly, for data transfer, we sometimes also need process data on the job. So while inspecting, we can already use a 5G connection. We can already let the algorithms work to process the data so that we can use it during the inspections. And after the inspection, it's also interesting to send the information directly to the reporting team to have the reports ready as fast as possible. So we talked about inspection experts centers. We're already building one with SGS at this point for the inspection of ship-to-shore cranes. So all the inspectors are located on one particular place and can perform inspections all over the world with the 5G connection and be present with a screen by logging in with a computer or using the goggle. Another way, if it's mandatory by the law, we can also be present on site and we do the same trick. Then it's not in an, let's say, centralized expert center, but then it's in a command vehicle and the data can be streamed towards the command vehicle. 5G for us is an interconnector. What do we mean with interconnector? We do the inspections with drones. This is an example of an indoor inspection drone. The drone that captures data on site can be streamed towards the van, can also be processed off-site directly by our data transfer or our data center, and inspectors, if necessary, can also be present on a special location in the expert center. But the importance is that it's going quickly. So we can't have the situation that the data is going too slow. It has to go quickly. Okay, so finally the objective. We want to live stream data from the drones. That's an important one. We want to transfer the data quickly. We want to do preventive maintenance. And we use, therefore, the interconnection. Our future vision is that there are no people present anymore in the future on the terrain. Only the drones are present on the terrain and the people are sitting in the expert center. So we have, let's say, a remote solution. And at the end, by doing this, we have less emissions because we don't have to move anymore. We can stay on a certain location. Only the drone has to go into the air and we stay on a certain location. So less road traffic and the expert time of our experts is used in a more efficient way. More, let's say, more specialism present on site, and also, this is also a solution which can be deployed on a worldwide level. the market, for example, of ship-to-shore cranes is an international market. Finally, the end product for the customer is a digital asset inspection platform which we have developed. And let's say what the customer wants is maintenance insights. So the end product is maintenance insights as a service, and the 5G helps us to achieve that specific goal. Okay, a lot of information, a lot of words on this slide, but I think the most important one to remember is that we need a faster working for the inspections and more insights, more asset uptime, faster reporting to the customers, experts from all over the world present on the inspection job. We can also use it for fast responder actions. Let's say if we have accidents or something. Better maintenance is less emission, and less movements means more remote and also less emission. So over here I have some examples which we already do today. So the port crane one I already showed to you. Another one is tank inspections, indoor tank inspections, where you need like tank assessors for. And on the other side, wall thickness measurements of storage tanks, where you need UT experts for, which can also be present in the expert center. Okay, this was my presentation. Thank you very much. And if you have any questions, please pose them. Thank you.
Well done, thank you. Any questions from the jury?
Question that's asked to other members, other pitches as well. So what will be your next step with the 5G app if you're winning the competition? What would you like to achieve together?
Using the 5G to develop the remote inspection solution in one sentence.
Clear?
What I cannot judge, I'm not in this business myself. How unique is your solution? There's many drone usage providers out there. How unique are you?
Quite. That's a short answer. No, what do you see? It's right. When you Google drone inspection or drone companies, you see a lot of drone companies, and that's correct. But the combination between data collection and building asset inspection platforms, that's a unique one. And when you want to be unique in our sector, you have to choose your assets. So we're focusing at this point on tanks and on ship-to-shore cranes in container terminals, which is quite a huge market. So in that sense, we are unique with that, let's say, cocktail.
Is the way of inspecting already allowed by notifying bodies?
Today, and it's a very good question, today an inspector has to be present on the job. So present means he can also be in the van, in the command vehicle, but he has to be present. The next step will be the remote one. So they're already, let's say, preparing it in order to go to the next step. And it's always first solution and then the law. And they also have like the right buttons to click on to go to the legislation.
Big round of applause for Skybase. Sorry, Andy. 30 seconds.
Including
answer? Go, go, go.
Okay, very quickly. I saw a lot of SDGs, but what's really for you the major SDG you would say this is sustainable?
For me, there are a lot of inspectors traveling all over the world to do their thing. So one is focusing, for example, on tanks, another one is on windmills. They're traveling a lot, so we reduce traveling. That's one thing. I think another one is when you have
30 seconds, and you only were mentioned to one, huh? So you mentioned it.
That one.
Okay. Sorry, I'm helping you.
Thank you. That's a nice to remember. Thank you very much. Our final contestant improves human-machine interaction via their Smart Vessel Optimizer. Please welcome Tech Binder.
Yeah.
Hello everyone, my name is Bram van den Boom. I'm one of the co-founders of TechBinder, and today I'm going to show you a little bit more about one of our applications we call Smart Vessel Optimizer. As the name suggests, we are in the maritime industry. That's our predominant focus. So if we look at that industry, we see that today roughly 90% of all the decisions made are based on experience and experts and knowledge that's sitting in someone's head. We see as well that these operations and systems are getting more and more complex, and it's more difficult to find, train, and retain experts and bring that knowledge, as we saw as well, to the site to make a valid decision. And lastly, we see that the circumstances in which these operations operate are changing more and more rapidly, with the growing focus on our environmental pressure. But as well, with the war in Ukraine, we saw fuel prices growing up rapidly, which needed or shifted the whole operational and profit model of shipping industry. If we look at the shipping industry today, there are roughly 120,000 vessels of significant size sailing our Earth. They are doing that with an approximate life cycle of 30 years, with engines that practically never stop, only for maintenance activities. If we look at a vessel individually, each vessel can have up to 300 individual systems that are producing signals and alarms and data on a by-second base. Currently, none of that data is reaching shore and is either lost right after it's produced or stored in a single asset and very difficult to retrieve. So the only data that comes out is based on manual reporting done by the crew. And that means that onshore, we practically have no accurate performance data of what these vessels are doing, how they are performing, and there's no way to do any trend analytics or benchmarking against each other. What we have created is a way to capture vital information coming from different systems on board, bring that to shore, and this way we can now start to monitor performance of each vessel individually, but as well benchmark them against each other. This can be done on vessel base, on crew base, on trip base, but as well on asset-specific base. What we now do is we have an overview over time of the best performer and the worst performer of your fleet. And doing that, you can now start to optimize the worst performer first by setting the best performer as your benchmark. Because we do all this in a digital environment, and all the information and knowledge that we put in there is never getting lost again. And it's for us, our task to bring that information to the right person in time, anytime, wherever he may be. I've brought some screenshots to give some examples of the dashboarding that we are currently creating. So this is something that we've done for an inland shipping company transporting goods from Groningen to Rotterdam and back. And what we've focused on here is the fuel rate used, so that's fuel per nautical mile. And what we see is in the northern part of the Netherlands, they sail a lot more ecological friendly than in the southern part of Netherlands, which is already very interesting to know. As well, and that was new to the operator, is that there is a northern route and a southern route. And the operator thought, so the crew on shore, thought that they would only sail the southern route. But apparently, they twice a week take the northern route, which is 10%, or using 10% more fuel, but has no result in being faster or having more efficiency in the operation. So that was one of the insights. We as well found 15 unnecessary running hours per week. That is, that a vessel is sitting still in its location with the main engines running without it moving anywhere. These insights resulted immediately in a report that has gone back to the crew to guide the crew members to make better decisions, shut down their engines, and not sail at a high fuel rate. This is a day's operation within a windmill park, and what you will see is that this vessel is going all over the place. And what I always compare this with is, what if your mailman is bringing the mail in your neighborhood and taking this route? You would say you will be crazy because it takes a lot of time and a lot of effort, and preferably he would be on a very old scootmobile having a lot of pollution. Well, that's exactly what's happening here inside of a windmill park. This insight gave, this is actually an insight given to the end user, so not really the operator, which was Siemens in this case, and they were now able to challenge the persons that they hire or charter the vessels from to bring a more accurate planning and to start optimizing their routing. The last example that I'm going to share today with you is that vessels are designed based on specific design criteria. They are only never validated afterwards if that's the right choice made. So this vessel is being designed to sail 20 to 22 knots, but if we look over a specific time frame, this was 6 months, we see that the vessel is actually only sailing 2 to 4 knots and doing small maneuvers. But that means that all the assets and the full technical configuration of the vessel is made to sail 20 to 22 knots, but it's actually doing far the opposite. That is like taking a Formula 1 car to a countryside and try to plow the land with it. So what are we doing? We've created a small piece of hardware that will be standard for every vessel in the world that brings the full architecture that you need to do this in a scalable and cyber-secure way. This cabinet already has its own IoT embedded, but can be connected today with 600 different PLCs that are the computers running each different asset on board. We can talk to 103 industrial communication protocols, and we have a wide set of sensors that we can add should there be a region where we cannot connect to an asset or data is simply missing. All that data is being sent to a cloud environment in a structured and secured way, where we use AI technology and dashboarding technology to create insights and share the insights with anybody that may need it. So we have an API that can send data directly into systems that are already in use, but we can as well retrieve data from those systems to add them to our analytics. What we are doing is all the information that we use there, we can automate reporting. That's something that's now done by hand and has a lot of failures in there. And we can use all the information to bring it back to shore, back to the vessel and guide the crew with step-by-step instructions for which we use, amongst others, augmented reality technology. I'd like to thank you for your time, and if you'd like to know a little bit more, please visit our websites. We have a company website, techbinder.nl, and a specific website for this application called smartvesseloptimizer.com. Thanks a lot.
Do we have any questions from the jury?
One ran away already, yeah.
So impressed. Where's the mic? Over here.
Do you have any competitors in whatever way?
Yeah, I always say the biggest one is the Dutch taxes. They take roughly 50% of our business. But then we have some very small ones that focus on only fuel optimization or only routing optimization or only predictive maintenance. And we are kind of a supermarket in that sense. We make sure that the data is structured so that you can do whatever you want with it. And you do not need 10 different data lines coming to shore. And we actually have, we have one big competitor that's currently Kongsberg, and that's a company that already as well installs systems on board that can do somewhat similar what we do. But if we look at the full portfolio, then together with Kongsberg, we are currently the only one what we can see in the world. But there is a lot happening in this area. Yeah.
What's your biggest threshold in going to market?
So we work with now 16 technology partners, Schneider Electric, Aviva, Wonderware, Eagle Eye Networks, that all have a piece of the puzzle, and we, as TechBinder, we combine that technology. So our biggest threshold is that all these partners are innovating at their own speed, in their own market, but every 2 weeks we are sitting with them and see, okay, what are you developing, and how can we use it in a maritime context? So our innovation speed and our backbone, call it like that, is super strong at the moment.
On the customer side, I mean the threshold. Why are they standing in a row to buy your application?
Sorry?
Are they standing in a row to buy your application?
Well, there's a lot of interest for sure, but it's a very conservative market, and it's a complex market because the value chain, you have somebody that builds the vessel that they don't care about the operational cost. Then you have the guys that have the vessel, but they charter out the vessel, so they do not pay for fuel, for instance, or performance. So the value chain is quite complex to get it through. In the end user that pays less fuel is financially the best, the winner, but they are not going to invest in the vessel since it's not their vessel. So what you see is that it's how to say, developing slowly, but more and more interest is coming up there. And what we see is that there are multiple value propositions for even the insurance companies where we now talk to, that take a lot of time to validate a claim, for instance. So yeah, but it's happening. But we see that the market, they are not as digital minded as you should hope or expect. Yeah.
Quick question?
Yeah, can you elaborate a bit more on the need for 5G?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, so well, we send data, so that's one part. But we do that now using a satellite, and we compress the information at a really high pace. But there are two situations that I think I have in mind that should we win, that we would like to evaluate. So when do you have real need for high input data is in busy areas, so in a port, in a lock or a dock. And what we want to do is to be able to switch to 5G and change the data sets, change the data rate, but as well share video imaging, and as well have the option to go back to the vessel to interfere if something goes wrong. Because like the other examples as well, there's limited skills on board of the vessel available, so you want to centralize that. And currently with satellite, there's no full coverage, but you see that there's a big challenge if you go for video imaging or really high throughput data. So currently we sample at 5 seconds, including the high-low. So should there be a high-low in between, we will take it, but we are pushing the bandwidth quite a bit, even with 300 I/O measured at the moment. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Big round of applause for TechBinder. And now it's that time we wish the jury good luck, because they have a very important decision to make. And it's also the time for you guys here in the audience to make a decision. So please go to menti.com and enter the code 68550512 so you can vote for your favorite team. And, well, while the jury deliberates, we're going to have an inspiring talk by our keynote speaker. He's a thought leader on sustainability in real estate and energy-positive buildings. He's also on a mission to challenge the status quo in the real estate sector. So, from Hello Energy, please welcome Benno Schwarz.
Yeah.
Of course. But just a sec, we still don't have your slides.
Hello, hello, hello. Yes. Hey. No, so I was just being very serious. I'm CEO, co-founder of Hello Energy. Yeah, that's what they said when I was at the MIPIM. MIPIM is a big real estate fair in Paris, and they said we were winning, or no, we're not winning, we were nominated for the MIPIM competition, Startup Award, very proud. And this pitch coach came to me and said, you need to start with the problem. So this is the problem. And then you say, I'm CEO, co-founder, and you sound like it's, you're a real entrepreneur. So yeah, that's what I did. And okay, we didn't win. Maybe I didn't give a good enough pitch. But I just do, I'm Benno. And what we do at Hello Energy is that we believe that the real estate can change, can become sustainable. So I think that's also a link with today, sustainability. If the people in the building want that change. So yes, there's amazing technologies like simple things, LED light, solar panels, and much more. We've heard also one today. But in the end, we believe that the people in the building need to make those choices to implement it. So our software is very much about behavioral change. It's a SaaS product, and I'll very quickly show you a video and tell you a bit about it. Sound should be working. Yeah, those work better with sound, but I hope you understand what I do. So, a SaaS solution, it's available on your laptop behind login. You can send to screens content that inspire people to change within the building. You can also get an email. We do over 700 buildings throughout Europe, so we're now in 13 countries. Large, real estate companies. I don't know if these names say anything, but they're all 1 billion assets under management plus. And we do with an amazing team. So, that's my pitch on the company. So, I think especially for now, for also the people who have pitched here, I want to speak about that. I don't really like to talk about sort of the success story of startup. I mean, in some ways, I think we're doing successful things. We're now with 15 people. We have a lot of clients who are happy with us, and we're building from there. But I get a bit annoyed when I'm at the Next Web and I hear this next unicorn and shouting about how much hours he's worked and never stops working. And that's not my style. Again, other people might like it, but I just like to talk about my company and what we do. And also, when I got called, can you present this? I said, well, I have three pitches I do. One, I just tell a little bit about the journey. So what happened? How did it go? Two, the one I prefer, the failures. So what went wrong? Because I'm now 6 years doing this, and believe me, a lot goes wrong. I think more than what goes right. And the last one about culture. And culture is the newest one. I get asked, quite often to speak. And this is a new one I'm now preparing because I'm really seeing that in the phase where we are, after 6 years, it's super important to really get that culture right, that people, stick with the company, that they stay there. So it's a topic I'm really working on. So today I'm going to, shortly talk about this. Time-wise, maybe just tell me when I need to stop and it's out and the jury's back. Do I have a timer? No. Yeah, I do have a time, but how long do I have? From now? Yes. Yes. Okay, so again, please also interact if you have ideas. But so for me, when I talk about culture, what has happened in the last 6 years, one of the things is when I go on LinkedIn, maybe because I know other founders or it's in my algorithm, I see continuously these pictures, 1.5 million raised, 2.3, 10, etc. It's always these pictures with successful founders, usually 3 or 2, saying, I've raised a lot of money. We then also got selected for TechLeap. I don't know if you know about TechLeap. It's a super interesting program. Really, you meet other entrepreneurs. It's really meant to promote the tech industry in Netherlands. We were selected, very humbled and proud of that. So when we did that, they really helped us to talk about, now it's time to scale. We're not a startup anymore, we're going to scale. So coming out of that program, it was like, okay, now we need our own picture. We also need to be the founders with, we've raised this. So the next thing we did is we talked to VCs. So we did a whole round. We had a company helping us. I think I spoke to around 100 VCs. And I must say, almost got the same story. It was always, you typically get an associate, somebody who's scanning the market, and they say, yeah, you need to have recurring revenue, you need to have a super team is the core, and it needs to be hyper growth. So, I think I have that, so okay, let's talk. But what if we don't want those things? So some things started to dawn on me. So is this, so these things, is it really what I want? Am I really about hyper growth? Is that what makes me happy? So yeah, in the last 2 years, just as a disclaimer, I'm not against raising funds. I think it can be very useful step. We did a pre-seed 1.2 million, 2.5 years ago. It's been really useful getting some angels on board for building our company. So again, no judgment that it's don't do it, but we started thinking, is this for us? Is it for us to raise money? Is that our success? And it is difficult, I find, because I do feel that when I look on LinkedIn again, or I look at the other people who did the TechLeap Rise program, I do feel there's some kind of a pressure when you see like you raised 4 million, you feel like, oh yeah, I'm successful. I mean, people are going to look and say, oh, this is a successful entrepreneur. So there is some, again, we haven't raised a Series A, some maybe jealousy or maybe some, wanting that. But I think it did come to us that, it needs to be right. It needs to be right. And we have now sort of said for ourselves what we actually would like to put on LinkedIn. We would like to say, we've raised a massive strategic partnership. One of our clients we're speaking to for a 6 million euro deal, so actually with the market. How cool would it be if we can post that? Maybe not mentioning the exact budget, but at least say, that is what we're proud of. Or, we found a super team member, somebody, a talent that's the success factor. I mean, this is already what we're trying to do. We want to believe that we can do it our way. Again, if it's the right way, I don't know, we'll see. But I think the most important is that along the way I've put on these 3, we have now worked with my co-founder and partly the leadership team and some of the rest of the team on what is important for us when we look at these 3. And we have said SaaS revenue. We started very quickly with our software solution to ask a setup fee. And VC said, forget the setup fee. Focus on recurring. We like the setup fee because it creates buy-in. Our clients are willing to pay upfront for something, yeah, and it creates cash flow. Simple, yeah. That's why we can build our company. So we think we really want to focus on those paying clients, and when that's ready, we can fund our growth with that. Talking about team, I think team is absolutely the most important thing in a company. I think there, I agree with VCs, I agree probably with everybody, finding the right. And what I've really found out, and it's now, 6 years, so it maybe took me a while, is that it's very important to find the real people who want to join your journey. Because I've also, we've had, now we're in the third phase. So we had the first phase was people who came, wanted to see the journey, have been with us 4 years, and then said, okay, we want to do something else. Where, the company has grown, they have seen us also fail a lot, they want a new success. Second group was the ones who thought, now I'm going to join a successful hyper-growth company. And they left within 1 year to another company, and probably will leave again to another company. And now we're in a third phase where we're finding people who really stick to us because they like what we're about, they like our journey, and maybe not that hyper-growth idea. And it's becoming really a small community. And by the way, on team, I can recommend all of you to listen to the podcast of 37 Signals. They have a Rework. It's a company, Basecamp. It's in the US. I think they do like 100 million annual recurring revenue, but they've really chosen to build a company that is loved by their clients. So there's a very strong connection, but not has a global domination plan. So that it's very interesting to hear also. I mean, they talk about, one of the podcasts about the 70-hour work week. And that resonated so to me. I hear founders saying, yeah, we encourage like everybody 60, 70 hours. I mean, honestly, I can't work 60, 70 hours every week. I just, that's maybe physically I'm not that strong, but for me that's just, I like 40 hours. I like the home work balance. So And last thing on growth is, we have said we are not here for hyper growth. We are for sustainable growth. So it's with successful clients, and yes, we do want to go fast. Yes, we do want to build, but we don't want to be pushed by anybody. You have to have these growing numbers every month. No, it has to be that it's from clients. So I think I don't have any time, so I said if still time, I would like to discuss with people how they think about, we are really talking about the work-home balance, how many time you work at home, how many at the office, what's best, and we're talking about co-ownership, everybody joining the company versus salary, but I have no time, so I will leave that. And the last slide, it's simple. This is just my ideas, our culture, our part of journey, but make your own. So think about these things. There's not some set rules you have to follow. You also need to listen to yourself, being an entrepreneur. I think that's my say.
Thank you very much.
No questions from the jury.
Thank you. No. To start with, oh yay. We are going to announce the team chosen by the audience. Brandon, can you help us, please? So let's see who got the audience choice. And that team was Connect2. Come up on stage. Congratulations. How does it feel?
Yeah, great. thanks for everybody for connecting with us in our vision. So.
Very nice. Thank you very much, and congrats. I'd like to call up on stage the 5G Hub Innovation Challenge team. Brandon, Herchan, Yuri, myself, and René Visser. Would you like to say something on behalf of the team?
Yeah, of course. The mic is not working again.
We need a mic.
Can I have your mic?
Yes, you can.
Well, thanks that everyone is here in the audience, and yeah, I'm really happy right now because last year I may use the confetti bomb, and now I'm promoted to say something to you. So I'm really happy with that. But we're talking about team. So really nice keynote, Benno. And I want you to have a big applause from someone who organized, well, I think everything, and that's Letitia. So a big applause for Letitia, please. She's the big star, and the other stars are, of course, all the finalists. So also a big applause for all the finalists. And in the end, everyone is the winner, and it's all about the ecosystem. So we are happy you are joining the 5G Hub and make it a big success. But I'm now really curious for who's the winner.
Yes, so am I. Oh, we have 2 minutes
So
now. Oh, cool.
I suggest everyone is clapping or doing something like this. And then we can announce the winner.
But before we announce our winner,
Okay, please stop.
I'd also like to ask a big round of applause for our jury members.
Of course.
They did
Yeah.
a very good job. Thank you very much.
And all the partners who joined, of course, extra from the 5G Hub.
Exactly.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
And I'd like to call up on stage Andy Lerling to represent his peers. Andy, you have great news for us.
Yes, we have a winner. And you can play the confetti in a moment.
Okay.
We have chosen, I guess, in one voice. We are all aligned, so it was not a long discussion for the number 1. We are having, of course, a climate change issue. The party who is the winner is active in a conservative market and can need some help, I guess, not only on the technology, but also on the corporates, helping them. And I don't know if the winner already knows who he is, but it's a TechBinder. Congrats.
Dankjewel.
Congrats.
Thanks. Way to go.
Yeah.
A lot of sound.
It's not working.
Don't look at it as
Yeah. Well, it's the best confetti bomb ever, but congratulations. A big applause again.
Congratulations. So, how does it feel?
Yeah, very cool. I got the question, what are you going to do? I forgot one case, which is really nice, I think, which we will discuss later. But if you look at a tugboat operation nowadays, so there's a big vessel coming in Rotterdam, there's 3 or 4 tugboats operating them. And currently there's one guy with a walkie-talkie telling the one boat to go faster and then the other one to go back. And we would like to create there is, I think, already a 5G coverage, but I would like to create a pilot where we can give the operators on board of tugboats real-time, real-life information so that not one is talking one way and the other one is the other way. So there was another idea that we had that would like to see if we can get somebody interested to follow. And yeah, I think with this we can make a huge step. It's interesting, cool network, and we are looking really forward to start.
Fantastic. Congratulations again. Very good. Another big round of applause for TechBinder, please.
Cool. Thank you. Thank you all.
And now, just before we enjoy some drinks in the foyer, if some of you, if any of you, still hasn't looked for my colleague Brandon here to, how do we call it? To fill in a small form in order to maybe win 2 tickets for the Ziggo Dome, please look for Brandon now during the drinks. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon, and we'll see you there. Thank you.